We're good.
Dun 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 dun. Heidi, Heidi ho! It is Jeff. That is Wes. It is Nerdspresso Phase 2. It is episode 21.
Yeah, old enough to drive.
And look at us. We have made it through 21 podcast episodes. How are you, my dear friend?
I'm doing all right. We haven't made it through this one yet. Anything can happen.
Just to keep things lively.
That's right. There's a kill switch right over here.
But just a little history. If you are coming to us, if this is your first experience with Nerdspresso Phase 2, Nerdspresso started out as a podcast with me and a couple of nerd buds a few years ago. It ran its course to about 125 episodes until it kind of got put on the shelf. You can catch some old episodes on Facebook. Just look Nerdspresso. But then my dear friend Wes Platt and we are nerd buds from a long time ago, back in college days, where we bonded over comic books, superheroes, sci-fi, and the like, and have stayed tight all these years. When Wes started up Southpoint Access News, he reached out to me and asked me if I would resurrect Nerdspresso as a weekly pop culture column. It's going on now two and a half years.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that. And then we decided that we had so many insights that we needed to share. Last year, we launched this podcast, which is why it is called Nerdspresso Phase 2. And what we do in this is we just chat about our nerd obsessions, be it Star Wars, Star Trek, Jaws, comic books, what have you. And we are now rolling into the 21st episode. And Mr. West, you can lead us in on our topic for this one.
Well, first of all, it was Comic Book Day yesterday. So
nice.
Happy Comic Book Day weekend,
yes,
everybody. But the most important date in our calendar for the year is tomorrow, May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Right, Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day.
So I thought we would, chat about Star Wars. It was kind of the big awakening that I had as a 10-year-old, or 9 going on 10 when that first came out. And I know you've talked about seeing that Star Destroyer in those first moments coming across the screen. It's like, oh my God. So, here we are 49 years later. And not quite the big 50 anniversary that I'm expecting next year. But still a big deal. It's been around for 49 years and it's still going strong. It's gone through some rough patches. And of course, this month on May 22nd, the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie comes out. And it's kind of like a chance to see, where things are at. And I was curious about, your thoughts on kind of where we are with Star Wars and the franchise and how it's been doing and where you kind of see it going.
Thank you. Well, this is one of my absolutely favorite topics. I mean, Star Wars has defined my life since 1977. And as you mentioned, I was 8 years old. My dad took me to the Fashion Square Cinema to see this movie. And the reason it was really interesting because it was my dad's idea to go. And because at the time I was a big Cowboys and Indians fan. I was
John Wayne was your guy, right?
Yeah, John Wayne was my bluey. I was all about the Duke and Westerns, and enjoyed Star Trek, and I liked Batman, Adam West Batman, and read some comic books. But sci-fi was it was cool, but I wasn't really tuned into it. And my dad's friends said, because they knew I was a weird kid who didn't like sports. And they said, your kid's really creative. You should take him to see this Star Wars movie. And so my dad, one night, he said, hey, we're going to go see a movie. And I was like, okay, I want to see the Lincoln Conspiracy, which was a documentary about the Lincoln assassination. He goes, no, we're going to go see this movie, Star Wars. And I'm like, oh, okay. Um, and so we go to this movie theater which is really interesting is because I live now like half a mile from where this movie theater used to be. And it's not a movie theater anymore. I don't even know if I think the building was torn down and they built condos or whatever in that spot, but it was called the Fashion Square Cinema. It was like a two theater house. And in addition to Star Wars, the first time I ever saw it, also you and I saw Blade Runner when it was re-released with the director's edition back in the 90s. You and I saw that there. I remember seeing Batman and Robin, the George Clooney abomination there. I saw The Phantom Menace in 1999 there with my girlfriend, who is now my wife. So a lot of history at this movie theater. But I remember sitting in that movie theater, and if you remember, you know, they used to do the pre-show, and they used to have the animated film reels going.
Yeah, General Cinema. Right. With the dots coming out of the projector. Yeah,
exactly. People just don't know. There's, and so
well, now they have Nicole Kidman.
Well, you know, I guess, you know, maybe that's an improvement.
Better than the duty dots.
Maybe so. But I remember sitting in that theater and the lights go dark, right? The movie starts and you get that John Williams score, you get the crawl, and then that Star Destroyer comes in and it just fills the screen and it just keeps going and going and going. And it blew my little kid mind. I had never seen anything like that before. And to this day, when people ask me, you know, what is like the best opening scene in a movie? I mean, it's certainly in my top 5, but it is my core memory of the movie that truly I think of when I think of movies. And if anything, I go to the movies to this day chasing the high that I got as an 8-year-old in that movie theater in the opening of Star Wars. And from that moment on, I was totally just connected. Sci-fi, Star Wars. I've been a Star Wars fanatic. I mean, my dog's name was George Lucas.
Right.
You know, it was like my son was born on Chewbacca's birthday. So, I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars has been in my life for a very, very, very long time. What was your first experience, the first time you saw Star Wars? What was that experience like for you?
It was not entirely different from yours. I mean, my dad took me and my brother Donnie to Orlando Fashion Square, you know, kind of the only show in town at the time. We had Altamont Springs.
Which was still a twin as well. Yeah.
It was a twin, and that's the theater where I saw Jaws when I was 8. So that was a great parenting choice.
Yes.
Taking me to see Jaws.
This explains so much. I'm learning so much about you.
Yeah, that and all the Monty Python movies that I got to watch. But yeah, Star Wars, I went to I might have been in that theater either the same day as you or close to it, because we went just about opening day. Because my dad was, you know, big into all the nerdy gadgets and everything else he could get his hands on. And I don't know if it was like a radio contest or something through Disney, because he worked at Walt Disney World. Either way, we managed to score these tickets and went to see the show. And just like you, I mean, when it first started, I think I'd heard some buzz about it, you know, reading the Orlando Sentinel, because I was a newspaper nerd, and of course seeing, I think they had a few TV commercials, but I mean, you didn't have the blitz like you have. I mean, there may have been, I think I got Starlog magazine, and I don't think Starlog was crazy with all that stuff until like closer to with Empire coming out. It was like after Star Wars, it really seemed to explode. And I'm sorry, but I will always call the first one Star Wars. I'm not going to call it A New Hope. It was Star Wars.
Yes. Come on. It's the OG. Absolutely. Right? Star Wars.
But I just remember I was watching the crawl, and, you know, 9, 10 years old. So it's like, oh, reading. Yay. I do like reading, but what is all this about? Okay, I couldn't care much about that. I didn't really get motifs and this whole thing he was building, George Lucas was building. But the crawl goes away, and you're left with that Starfield, and then it
Mhm.
pans, and you get Tatooine. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. How are they going to top this? And this little tiny ship comes out on the screen. I'm like, okay, well, that's all right. That's kind of cool. And little lasers are coming at it. I'm like, what's going on here? And then, of course, like you said, the Star Destroyer comes on the screen, and it keeps coming on the screen, and I'm just like, okay, blown away. And then it just the ride starts and it really doesn't stop. And I watched that movie as a kid. I don't know how many calendar days I burned up watching that, especially when we had the VHS player and
Mm,
you could watch Star Wars anytime you wanted. I went through a few
yeah.
copies of that thing. So yeah, I would say like you that when I think about great cinema openings, I mean that's certainly a huge one. Blade Runner
Mm,
with all the cinematic stuff going
mm,
on around Los Angeles and the fires coming up. That's for me. Indiana Jones. Usually
mm.
it's going to be Lucas or Spielberg.
Yeah, yeah,
Have the great opening because like I love Indiana Jones and that silent opening where
yeah.
very little is said. All you have is the music kind of setting the tone and the scenery and the cinematography and and then you get the whip crack.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And
Without,
yeah, that really set the tone. But so that opening scene for me was amazing. I loved every bit of it, and I couldn't get enough once it was done. And it
yeah,
was like you couldn't just go home and watch it on streaming. You had to
yeah,
go back and buy a ticket, which I know I did. And it was a great babysitter for
yeah,
my parents.
yeah.
They'd just send us to go see Star Wars again.
And you would. I mean, in the
Yeah,
theater, it was in the theater for a year, year and a half, and then they brought it back 2 years later for
to
another
get
run.
ready for Empire. Yeah,
Yeah, and it was like, and as a kid, you came out of that movie and you wanted to go back in line and see it again, and the only way to experience it again was to go to the movies, or you played Star Wars in the backyard.
how many action figures? Yeah.
Yes, and
Oh,
when
and
and they didn't come out right away because they underestimated the appeal of the movie. So it took like 6 months for the action figures to come out. And
yeah.
so what you did was you bought a piece of cardboard and that said, this guarantees you
Yep.
the figures when they come out, and you held on to that piece of cardboard until they mailed you, I think it was the first six figures. It was a huge deal. I have another really good friend who tells me his experience seeing Star Wars for the first time. He had been diagnosed with asthma. He was like 6 or 7 years old,
Oh
and his
God, little
parents.
Vader. He was
Yeah,
little Vader.
he took him to the they took him to the doctor, and he was high on asthma meds. And then to cheer him up, they took him to see Star Wars. So he totally equates the opening of that movie with being absolutely blotto on asthma meds. And he says, yeah, he goes, he still associates that opening of the movie with being kind of out of it and just blown away. And I think that's a really good way to describe the feeling we have. Here in town, I run with some nerd dads that are roughly my age, but we have a dad. We have the token jock in our crowd, and he's like 10 years younger than us. And so when most of us get together, it usually turns into a conversation about Star Wars. And this one dad he goes, guys, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know why you're so psyched about this movie. It's like, I've never been this excited about a movie like this. And he goes, and I don't understand. It's like, it's cool, but I don't understand why you guys are all so obsessed with it. And what we have to say is, you weren't there. You don't know what
Yeah.
it was like to be a little kid and have never seen anything like this, and to go into this dark theater as a little kid and be transported to to a galaxy far, far away, to see things that you had never imagined that you could see in your life. And it just blows your little kid mind, and that gets a hold of you, and you just, you can't describe it. So it's like,
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those. I remember that they started releasing things like the Star Wars blueprint set.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at the Millennium Falcon and
Yeah,
TIE fighters and all this, or getting the concept art and designs by Ralph McQuarrie, and making of stuff. And I couldn't, like I said, when Starlog started producing this stuff, I got the magazines, like you said, when the toys started coming out.
mm-hmm.
I had that Millennium Falcon that came out from Kenner.
Mm-hmm.
And, here we are 49 years later, and I'm wishing I never took it out of the box.
Yeah.
But instead I did. I was losing pieces and I was flying it around my yard and, getting sand in it because, of course, we're on Tatooine and we're,
Mm-hmm.
had the best time with all the toys
Yeah.
and the action figures. And then, getting into video games and reading all the books that came out. It has been, of course, it exploded over time and became this huge monster
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that everybody got into. But I just, remember how in those early days before the internet and everything else, it really felt like it was like yours.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the world loved this Star Wars stuff, but you could really, but you could connect with people who also liked it, just like with Star Trek and D&D. Um, but it was like one of those other nerdy touchstones that we could have.
And
Um,
it was totally driven by your imagination, because all you had was that one movie from
yeah,
1977 until 1980 when the new movie came out.
right.
And then the other thing was Marvel did a comic book series.
Yeah, and I got that too.
And I was obsessed with that comic book series. And so that was all the new Star Wars that you got. And then Empire came out, and it was amazing. It's a great sequel. It's probably a better film than the original Star Wars, but it's a better made film, better constructed. But
Yeah,
I'm always going to have affection for that first movie because it changed everything. And then by the time Return of the Jedi came out, all right, now I'm getting to be, what am I? I'm now 13, 14 years old. So I'm getting to be a jaded teenager. Jedi does not have the hold on me that Star Wars and Empire do. But there was still the thing when Return of the Jedi ended in 1983. You're like, oh gosh, I wish there were more Star Wars movies.
yeah.
And so we still had comic books, we still had novels. There was a radio adaptation at that point. But then we went through a period that we did not see really any new Star Wars for quite some time. And then in the 90s, in the mid 90s, we started to hear, that Lucas was thinking about new Star Wars movies, because there was an interview he did for Time magazine or somewhere, and right after Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back, and it was like, oh well, I have this idea. It's a series of 12 movies, and we'll do 3 movies before Star Wars to learn about how Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader, and then we'll have 3 movies after about Luke as the Jedi Master, and then there'll be 3 more movies about Luke and Leia's progeny, and then this whole thing that he was laying out, that we were all nerding out about. Oh my gosh, well, what if? And then we didn't hear anything about that. But for me, Star Wars was still kind of like, it was kind of, we went through high school and early college, and it was still kind of like this fringe thing. It was like the saying, yay, we like Star Wars. It was like our secret code. We talk about, it was our nerd cred that we had. It was not part of like the pop culture conversation. And then in the mid 90s, Kevin Smith comes out with Clerks and Mallrats, and here he is now. He's peppering the dialogue in his film, talking about Star Wars and spinning conversation.
Chasing Amy has that great scene at the convention, right?
Yes,
Lando
exactly. And so, so this is the whole thing. Now, Star Wars is part of the pop culture conversation. It's now being used as movie dialogue in these hip indie movies, and it's suddenly being really cool. And then in '97, Lucas releases the special editions and remasters Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and includes, polishes some of the special effects, adds some deleted scenes, changes some things around. And let me again go on record, Han shot first.
Yes, indeed. He shot first. Yes.
All right. Just let it be known. Let it be known right now. Nerdspresso Phase 2, Episode 21, Han shot first. And so then that got people thinking about Star Wars again. And then 2 years later, you get the premiere of The Phantom Menace, and the prequels are off and running. And we have been talking about Star Wars, and it has been part of the pop culture conversation ever since. And so it's like, I look at my son, I look at your kids. They have never known a world without Star Wars. They've never known a time when there was not new Star Wars content. And so because of that, they take it for granted a little bit, in the sense, it's like when J.J. Abrams came out with Force Awakens in 2015, and it was the first new Star Wars in 10 years and a whole new trilogy. There was a whole thing about the local media wanted to do stories on like Star Wars dads and bringing their kids to sharing Star Wars with another generation. Yeah. And I work with a lot of media, and so they knew I was a big Star Wars nerd. They knew I had a son, and they wanted to know if I was going to take my son to see the new Star Wars movie. So I had a reporter that said, "Hey, I'm doing a story on Star Wars dads, and are you going to take your kid to see the new movie?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I told the same stuff that you and I are talking about right now.
Yeah.
So he wrote a story, and he said, "Do you have any photos that would be fun that we could share about being a Star Wars dad?" And my son's first photo, taken as a baby, still in the hospital, he's wearing a Star Wars onesie. And he is cuddling a Darth Vader plushie.
Nice.
And that's the first photo that we have of him. And so I gave that to the reporter. That ran on the front page of the Orlando Sentinel.
That's gold, Jerry.
Oh, yeah.
Gold.
and so that came out like the week that the movie was coming out. And then the local Fox affiliate picked up on that. And they wanted to do a story about Star Wars dads. And so they asked if they could come and interview me and interview my son, who was like 5 at the time. So they came to our house. I took all my gear out. I set up all the Star Wars toys. I put my kid in a homemade Star Wars Hawaiian shirt that my mom had made for me out of Star Wars bed sheets.
Has he ever forgiven you? That's the question.
No, not yet. And so we're there, and they're doing the story, and the reporter interviews me, and I do the whole thing about Star Wars, changed my life, Star Destroyer, fathers and sons, and imagination. They turn to my son, and they ask him if he is excited for the new movie, and he goes, yes. And they go, why? He goes, because when we go to the movies, we get snacks, and I like Sour Patch Kids. And so then they say, well, do you like, and then they say, do you like Star Wars? And he goes, not so much.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And so that aired on TV like the night before the movie comes out. And then the anchor chat was all about, I like Sour Patch Kids too, and snacks are great. And so then that got a little attention locally, and somehow People Magazine saw I think it was the photo of my son in the Star Wars
Sure.
onesie, and
That is seriously a viral moment before
it's
viral
all about
moments.
good art.
Yeah.
And so I get a call from People Magazine, and they want to do a story about Star Wars dads. So they interview me, and so People Online, the online, there's a story. If you look and you go Jeff Stanford, Star Wars dad, People Magazine, you'll see the story of me and my son and my connection to Star Wars, and the photo, the baby photo of my son in the Star Wars onesie. So it's like Star Wars has been a big part of my life, and it's more than a movie, and it is modern mythology. It has it kickstarted my imagination. It is part of my conversation. I don't go a week without watching Star Wars on streaming. Yeah, at least 20 minutes of it. It is, how I decompress at the end of a day, or had a bad day, watch Star Wars. Had a good day, watch Star
Star Wars.
Wars.
Yeah.
Can't sleep at night, watch Star Wars,
What Star Wars, The Phantom Menace? That's
Yeah, there you go. There's a lot about that too.
yeah.
And then
Do not watch Revenge of the Sith. It will just make you angry.
yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? And I think what you're bringing up too, Star Wars fandom has become so divisive.
Yeah.
And it used to be, when all we had was the Holy Trilogy, we all huddled around it and celebrated it. And the worst thing that we could say is the Ewoks were kind of lame. But all we wanted was more Star Wars. We all fantasized of a world with more Star Wars. Well, 40 years later, 45 years later, here's a world with Star Wars all the time. We're looking at a new Star Wars movie coming out in like a few weeks. There is a streaming channel where we get six new Star Wars shows that we can watch now, plus all the movies that we can watch at any time. And we have never been more unhappy about Star Wars than we are right now. And it's like we have people who love the new content, people who love the old content, people who hate the new content. And it's like we all bicker and argue every single choice. And I think it comes down to, especially for those of us, you and I and a lot of our peers who were little kids when that first movie came out, it blew our minds. It got in our blood. It is a special, singular obsession. And like you said, we all own it. We all have our own personal connection with it. And because of that, we feel ownership of it. And when they do things that feel contrary to the image in our minds of Star Wars, we get very passionate about it. And I think this plays out a great deal with both the prequels and the sequels, because I think, we had 15, 20 years to make these movies in our minds before they came out. There was no way George Lucas was going to satisfy us because our expectations were so high.
Yeah.
And that played in the prequels. And now here we are 20 years on. A lot of people have reevaluated the prequels and they feel they've aged a lot better and they appreciate them for what they are. But there's not a lot of great affection for the sequels, the Disney films that were made when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, when Kathleen Kennedy became the head of Lucasfilm over George Lucas. And it really, I feel, is because expectations weren't met, or because a lot of that fan base felt ownership of the property and felt a little bit of betrayal with how the characters were treated or how the story was treated. It just did not play out as well as the movie in our heads. And
Yeah,
I
and
feel that's the basis of why everything is so divisive these days.
yeah, and it feels to me like, I mean, Force Awakens seemed like it was fine, right? It was okay.
It was a retread
It
of
was a
the
very
first
much a
movie.
retread. It was very much a retread, so it was felt very safe.
Mm.
But that whole idea of, okay, we have an empire again, we have a Death Star again, we have, this character who doesn't know she's awesome, who turns out to be awesome, like Luke, and she's on a desert planet even. I mean, it's just, it was very much this kind of note for note, with new characters and interesting characters, but it was, and then the second movie in that sequel series, I really loved. Last Jedi, I thought was an extremely well made movie, and I really enjoyed it.
Ryan Johnson is a great filmmaker. He
Yeah,
made one of the coolest time travel movies that I have ever watched in Looper. If you have
yeah,
not seen Looper, check it out. It's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bruce Willis, and Emily Blunt in it. Very cool movie, and what he's able to achieve on a limited budget that still pays off as effective science fiction. It's a great flick. Check it out, Looper. And he's also made the Knives Out movies, which
right.
are very entertaining and compelling. I was pretty psyched when he took on The Last Jedi. A lot of people aren't happy with that movie.
Right. Well, and that's really where I feel like a lot of that venomous
Mm.
fandom started happening. I mean, Kelly, is it Kelly Tran,
Oh yes,
who
yeah.
was the engineer character in there? She just basically got
Rose.
chased. Yeah,
Yes.
she played Rose, got chased offline
Yeah.
by the cruelty of online fans. And it's like, I understand not liking something, but I mean, I think I heard, Jar Jar Binks's actor got
Mm.
a lot of grief. Jake Lloyd, who was
Hmm.
little Anakin, yeah, he had
Yeah.
a rough time after those movies came out. And I feel bad for, any part I had in that because I did not really care for the betrayal. I did not like the character of Jar Jar Binks. I have mocked that mercilessly, but I don't have anything against the performers who are,
Hmm.
tasked with putting on these roles. I don't feel the need to go online and chase them around in a virtual universe where I have total anonymity and they are public figures effectively, just attacking and attacking and attacking with just no mercy. And the really great thing I thought about Last Jedi was kind of that message at the end that anybody can have the Force. It's not this thing that's put together through the Skywalker bloodline or something. It is just some little kid on this casino planet can pick up a broom with the Force. And I thought, what a great way to turn that. And then the third movie just kind of goes, no, you got to be a Skywalker. It's yeah,
Mm.
you could be a Palpatine or a Skywalker, one of those things.
Mm.
Yeah, it somehow
Yeah, yeah,
it
and
works.
we're gonna ride horses on this Star Destroyer, and somehow Palpatine returned, and
Right.
it's like, ah.
Yeah.
Um,
But like things, don't like things, let it go. It
it's
is
a
like
movie.
it's almost like the anger and the venom
Yeah,
becomes the hobby. It is the
yeah.
thing. So, all people want to do is crap on the stuff that other people may like. I mean, there are probably plenty of people out there who saw this Rise of Skywalker and thought it was amazing cinema and it was a great time. Horses on the Star Destroyer, fine. They didn't think about, logic. They just enjoyed the show. Fine. It's like a fireworks show up on the screen. That's great. You enjoyed it. You just got to let it go. You can go on, X or Threads or Facebook and you can post your opinion about it. Great. Be done with it. If somebody else says, no, it was awesome, you don't have to keep arguing with them and trying to change their mind because we are not in that world anymore.
Mhm.
People have their silos. People know what it is that they like and don't like. So if you're continuing to argue back and forth and bicker, then it's the arguing that's giving you your joy, and that just feels wrong to me. It's like go
Yeah.
watch something else. It's like I'm a little iffy about Mandalorian and Grogu. I
Mm,
loved the most of
yeah.
the Mandalorian series. Grogu's awesome. My son is really excited to go see this because it comes out on his birthday on May
Nice.
22nd. So he is like, dude, they're doing this for me. I'm like, all right, we will go see the Mandalorian and Grogu on your birthday. Um, will it be great? I mean, I have a feeling it'll be pretty good. I think visually it's going to be really good. Sigourney Weaver's in it.
Hmm.
I mean, that's going to be great. Um, I I hope that they do a lot with the Mandalorian and not just Grogu. That we're not turning this into like a little cartoony thing, but if they do go that kind of cartoony route and it's more like Smurfs than Star Wars, then there's going to be a bunch of people who like that, and I'll just have to live with it. My kid may watch this movie and think it's the greatest thing ever, and I'm going to let him love that if he sees it and likes it. I'm not going to sit there and go, yeah, no, you're wrong. That was stupid. Um,
Yeah.
there's enough I have to do with telling my kid, no, that's wrong,
Yeah.
to try to take away whatever he likes about something that he sees in the movies. I'm just glad he's interested, and
Yeah. Very much so. And it is a testament to George Lucas's vision and the power of myth and the movies and fantasy and all the talented people who are involved that almost 50 years later we are still talking about this, we are still passionate about this, that it has fed an entire empire of entertainment. I mean, there's a theme park based on it.
yeah.
And
Who
so,
knew who knew we would ever get that? I mean,
oh gosh,
the
can you
opportunity
imagine
to go
being eight
ride,
years old and going and ride the Millennium Falcon? Come
yeah,
on.
or doing that the what is it, the Rise of the
Hmm.
Resistance.
Yeah.
That was a really cool experience. Sadly, the space cruise liner didn't work out.
Yeah,
Uh,
the Star Wars hotel
yeah,
did not work too. And for me, that kind of moved us into like Michael Crichton Westworld territory, where you're out completely immersed in the world and you're taking a vacation from reality to have this the immersive Star Wars experience where everybody you interact with is playing a character. That's a lot. I love this
it
stuff, and that's a lot for me.
well, and it's especially a lot if it's a niche within a niche within a
Hmm.
very, very. I mean, it's a LARP. It's a live action role playing thing,
Hmm.
and you're charging this huge amount of money, basically like it's a cruise ship,
Yeah.
to bring your family along. And the nice thing about the cruise ship is that there are activities you send your kids to do those things, and then you go do your fun stuff with your significant
Hmm.
other, and you have a great time. I could not imagine taking she was a toddler at the time,
Hmm.
and my 11-year-old, and going on this cruise liner in a hotel and trying to be part of a plot when she's freaking out, melting down over something. He's not interested. He's looking at his phone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great idea and an interesting concept, but it's such a niche thing that you really have to be, almost either single or childless or just really, really rich. A very,
Yeah.
significantly
It
small
was
Venn diagram.
it was expensive. It was
Yeah,
expensive to do, as I remember,
yeah.
and pretty much for all these reasons, that's why it was not successful. Um, but it is crazy how it has evolved to become this all-encompassing thing, and it means different things for different people. And we are, I feel, right now at the precipice of a whole new generation of Star Wars storytelling. I think Mandalorian and Grogu represents almost a reboot of the franchise because the Disney Lucasfilm sequels were so divisive, and in many ways, I felt they could have been better. I feel like you could see there was just way too many cooks in the kitchen. You could
Yeah.
see the corporate fingerprints all over it. At the end of the day, these are stories. Tell us a good story, engage us. Don't just feed us IP. Don't just feed us a product, transport us. And I do feel that the Mandalorian TV series, when it came out on Disney Plus, did that. That was like the best Star Wars that we had gotten in decades. I also think of the movies that were made, I thought Rogue One was really
Rogue One
good.
was fantastic. Yep.
That was a story. I mean, they focused on the story and the characters, and it was interesting and it was compelling. And this movie gets a bad rap. I thought Solo was a really
Solo
entertaining
was a lot
movie.
better than it gets credit for. And I would have liked to have seen what Lord and Miller
Mm.
actually ended up doing with it.
Yeah.
But, because they did a great job with Project Hail Mary. And
Yeah,
obviously,
they're getting all kinds of praise right now for Project Hail Mary. And these were the guys who were the original directors on Solo, and they were fired by Lucasfilm. And then they brought in Ron Howard to finish the movie, and
yeah.
he did a decent job. Solo is a very entertaining movie. I feel Alden Ehrenreich, I think is his
Oh,
name.
yeah.
It's not Nerdspresso if I don't mispronounce somebody's name, but it's like I felt he did a decent job as young Han Solo. Amelia Clarke was good in it. Woody Harrelson was good in it. I thought it was a really entertaining movie, and I think that's what we need. Just tell us good stories. I mean, I thought Mandalorian, the first 2 seasons especially, were really good Star Wars stories that weren't weighed down by corporate baggage. It didn't feel like IP. It felt like it was taking part in the Star Wars universe. It was paying homage to stuff that had happened already, but it was taking us somewhere new.
Yeah.
And Andor was amazing.
Andor is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Andor is awesome.
and it didn't overstay its welcome. That's what was
Yeah.
great about that. And now in our current political climate, it comes across as way too on the nose. But in a good way.
And it was dramatic. It was a serious story. It was a
Yeah.
serious political story amidst all this fantasy. But we also had Skeleton Crew, which was last year, which was kind of like Star Wars meets Goonies. We had The Acolyte, which was okay. I think it got a lot of vitriol that was
I thought it was unfair.
Yeah. We had the Obi-Wan series with Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. It could have been better, but I enjoyed it. The Ahsoka show with Rosario Dawson was
That was fun. Yeah.
was really entertaining. And speaking of Ahsoka and Mandalorian, one of the through lines there, Dave Filoni, who did a lot of the Star Wars animation. He did Star Wars Rebels. He did the Ahsoka series with Rosario Dawson. He had a hand in Mandalorian. He's involved with the new movie Mandalorian and Grogu, as is Jon Favreau, who did the Mandalorian series on Disney Plus. Favreau and Filoni are involved in this new movie, and Filoni is now the co-president of Lucasfilm because Kathleen Kennedy has retired. So here's a guy who is a Star Wars storyteller who has told some of the best Star Wars outside of George Lucas, who's now at the helm of this franchise, which I think is incredibly promising.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I'm going in with lower expectations for this Mandalorian movie. It will be great to be disappointed. It'll be great to be sitting there and being in the theater with my kid, and maybe something happens in that opening scene that just blows me away. I relish that opportunity. I'm looking forward to it, and seeing what they keep coming out with.
For my thing, as passionate as I am about Star Wars, just tell a good story.
Yeah.
Transport me. Give me that same rush I had as an 8-year-old sitting in the Fashion Square cinema, in that first film. Just, tell me a good story. And so the good thing is Filoni and Favreau are great storytellers. They're Star Wars fans. I feel like we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to be all things to all people. Maybe it'll be a slight course correction, but at the very least, I hope it's entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I can say about it just from looking at the previews is it's obviously catering to very specific fan groups. I mean, they want the Star Wars Rebels there. They want I think they want, usual Mandalorian folks to be there. And, by getting Sigourney Weaver in here, they want every genre representative, because she's been in everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
From Aliens, Avatar, Ghostbusters,
and she's got a crazy multiverse going on where she is the linchpin. She is the core uh, character, core whatever. What
yeah.
was the thing in Deadpool and Wolverine?
Oh God.
Yeah, what it was. It was the signature character that whatever it was. Go watch Deadpool and Wolverine again. You'll
like
know
a
what I'm talking
like a
about.
prime care
Yes,
prime entity or
exactly.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the universe can't do without that person.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's safe to say the universe can't do without Sigourney Weaver.
I would say so. And what's nice about Filoni and doing Star Wars Rebels, which was an animated series, was actually some of the best Star Wars storytelling post original trilogy.
Yeah,
It was good stuff, and there's some characters from Star Wars Rebels that show up in Ahsoka, uh, the live action series with Rosario Dawson, which is currently filming a season 2, which
yeah.
will be out at some point. And there are some characters from Star Wars Rebels that show up in Mandalorian and Grogu. So that should be good. But I mean, here's the thing, man. When we were 8 and 10 years old, did we ever think we would be at a place where, we would be just surrounded by Star Wars? If anything, it's exceeded our wildest
Yeah,
dreams.
yeah. I mean, the one thing that I miss about those movies from the original series is like the image you see behind me. They had a budget, but it wasn't, an astronomical budget, and they worked with practical effects. They
Yeah.
made masks. They had
Hmm.
special effects that were done by hand. I mean, you look at the Battle of Hoth, and I loved seeing those making of featurettes on the DVDs where they would talk about, here's how they do step by step of the big Imperial walkers, and how that battle played out, and the Death Star trench run, and how they designed special camera equipment just for that. A whole industry was born with Industrial Light and Magic because of them.
Tremendous creativity, and I do feel right that there is something lost with CGI. We can do almost anything. We can
Yeah,
we can make any idea reality. We can pretty much give life to your wildest dreams, but it's also like there's something tactile about practical effects that
yeah,
seem real. And my one concern with Mandalorian and Grogu, I see there's the Babu Frick characters,
yeah,
in the trailer, and they look so animated. They so look CGI, motion capture. It's like there is something to be said when actors are interacting with things on a set with props and other characters.
yeah,
And that's what the originals did have. It felt like an authentic world, and I do feel that that's what Favreau and Filoni did in the Mandalorian TV series, which was what a great success. They made it feel authentic again. So,
yeah,
Leia, let's hope that some of that translates. And I think the big thing is, we want to feel something. We don't want to just be fed product. We want to, be engrossed in the story. We want to care about these characters. We want it to go somewhere. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't all have to be Andor.
right.
It doesn't all have to be challenging and relevant and thought provoking, but it at least has to feel like there's some creativity behind it, that there's more to it than just selling us something. And
Yeah.
so that's my hope for this new movie, is that at the very least we're entertained.
Well, we will see.
Yes, we will. And I wish everybody a May the 4th be with you. And don't forget Revenge of the 5th. and there's all kinds of other things we do with the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and 10th. But may the 4th be with you, and enjoy this new movie as it comes out. And hey, Disney Plus has all the old Star Wars stuff. And if you don't like all of it, just focus on the stuff you do and enjoy that, because there's some good stuff there. And it's, it's some very happy memories for me that I enjoy revisiting.
Same. And just remember, my advice for you is let the Wookiee win.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. Here's where the fun begins.
Oh, God. Poor Jake. Poor Jake. Well,
but
thanks.
Always a good time. And hey, folks, you can catch Nerdspresso Phase 2 and all 21 episodes on Spotify and also Southpoint Access News. You can catch Nerdspresso columns every Friday, both on Southpoint Access News and also on Threads and Facebook. And it's starting to pop up on Instagram as well. So please check us out. Enjoy it. We appreciate you listening. May the 4th and the Force be with you. And my dear friend, good talking to you.
Always. Take care.
You too.